Hello, and welcome to the Active Atom Educational Series. Part 3A, Assembling a Levin Accessory Spindle.
Yes, we're ready to assemble a Levin Accessory Spindle.
The day has finally come.
Yeah, this is the great part because, this is where we've disassembled a spindle. We've cleaned all the parts.
We've put the most beautiful lacquer paint job on earth.
Well, especially on the headstock. So this is the fun part. This is where you put in all the hard work and now we can assemble everything with the new bearings.
And we're on the road to perfection, or as near as we can get.
Yep. Okay, and just as a reminder, for the Levin Accessory Spindle, that's a spindle that Levin uses for their grinding attachment, milling attachment, micro drill attachment, their drill press. I mean, they use it. It's a little spindle that they use in a lot of different accessories and attachments.
They're really awesome.
Yeah. Well, actually, let me show a quick picture of the grinding attachment assemble, because that's actually what we're doing today, right now. Okay, the next thing are the bearings. Remember, the accessory spindle uses only one pair of angular contact bearings, so 2 bearings. So there's no deep groove bearing in this spindle. And later, I'm going to show you some bearings that we use from different manufacturers. Our primary bearing manufacturer we use is from SKF, but there are some other manufacturers we use, and I'll show you those with the different part number options. But the basic general part number for the accessory spindle is 7001. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
That's the designation that's pretty common among all the manufacturers, and that determines the size of the bearing. But the options do differ between the manufacturers, so we will, cross-reference some of the bearing manufacturers for you and put that in the live document. Okay. Right. Okay. The next. Oh, you want to talk about the next item about applying machine oil on all the parts.
Oh yeah, I never stop. It never stops. Okay. We share this product because it's the best.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line on it. And it's the most refined oil on earth.
Yeah, and we've tried over the years, we've tried a lot of different machine oils for this type of application, because the goal for this application is the oil isn't being applied for lubrication purposes. It's actually being applied to inhibit rust and corrosion.
So in this case, we're creating a film environment. We're just putting a film. And with that, well, first of all, in our little world, we don't use this big bottle. We kind of transfer some of that bottle to this bottle because this has a smaller spout on it for us. And I just put one little, it allows just one drop. And
it gives you a nice little precise small drop.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Sure.
Here, look at that. I mean, you probably won't see it, but there you go.
Yeah, so it's a little nice controlled drop where the bottle that comes with the oil.
It's a little much.
Yeah, a little too much.
And I never want you to contaminate this bottle or knock it over. It's kind of expensive. So I don't want to really knock it over. So you knock this over. I wouldn't knock that one over. And then you're going to lose it. But see here, this way, if something gets, you're only going to get one little bit of contamination here. You keep this safe. We can't have grits and things. Now, do you want me to talk about applying it at all? Or
Oh, want to show them the bottle for people that haven't seen the bottle before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just show it. Okay, this is because people have asked us, because, when you do a search for Nye oil, you will see different.
Well, they have a whole bunch of versions of oils. One of them we're actually testing for the future, but we're not willing to accept that yet.
Yeah, that's synthetic base, where this is...
It's a blue bottle with a number, it's a Nye oil 2.
Roman
numeral. Yeah, right.
This is the original formula, and this is a mineral-based oil. But like Lance said, it's the highest refined oil in the world. So it's a great quality oil. And see, this is how we purchase it. It comes in a 4-ounce bottle, and it's the red bottle.
That'll last you a lifetime in our world. We don't go that much. And so, because this is so refined and such a fine film, we just apply it to anything and everything. I go ahead. Everything's going to get this except the felt rings, right?
That's right.
No. Okay, no. I like doing that. The school teacher, no. Okay. But everything else, even this cylinder, If these threads, every little thing's getting that little oil. And one little drop, if you watch one and put one little drop on a hole, it'll actually finish that hole.
Yeah.
It'll go right through there and get it. If not, you know, just help it out a little bit.
Yeah. So well, especially when you screw in the fastener, that'll help.
It'll bring it in there too. And the fastener's going to have it on it too. So both pieces coming together, it'll all get covered. Yeah. That way you don't get rust down them little itty bitty threads over time.
Yeah, because just as a reminder, that's a really common problem we see is rust on the threads of the fasteners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You have some funny looking package of towels here.
Okay, this is actually a really important topic. You know, remember, during this phase of the installation, you know, we're installing the bearings, and this is where your work environment has to be perfectly clean. And we're talking lab environment clean. I mean, we don't want specks of dust, lint, nothing.
When we started this series, right? Can I butt in a little?
Yeah.
We had talked about hair nets, face masks, and booties, and we kind of weren't kidding. We don't actually do it.
No.
But we certainly clear our hair before we come in here.
Oh yeah, because you don't want things coming out of your hair if you came out from the workshop, or you know, with chips in your hair or whatever.
And so these are right in that limit. These are right in that game. They're actually, Pat, you want to describe them a little or something?
Yeah, very important. We do not want to use paper towels.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and the other thing, okay, you could use lint-free cotton cloth, but even that's borderline because.
Well, I use that a lot.
Yeah, out in the workshop and stuff like that. But for this process...
It's used in all the polishing of these parts and everything.
Right.
But when they come in here, it's oil time.
Yeah, especially a new, like if you get a t-shirt, cotton t-shirt, when it's new, you know how it lints everywhere. So that's what we're afraid of. We don't want that lint. So what we use is we actually...
it'll act like a human hair in there.
Yeah.
Just the bearings.
So we use this from Kimtronics. They're called control wipes. And what they are is... they're lint-free, 100% lint-free cloths.
These are clean room approved, right?
Yeah, clean room. These are usually used in the lab where you don't want any lint, dust, or anything. So this is perfect for this application. So there's no lint, very strong. You cannot tear this. So very and highly absorbent. So it has all the qualities we want, and plus, more important than anything, is it does not lint.
Oh, maybe we should try using these for lunch. Napkins for lunch?
I think it's a little expensive for regular paper towels. But so really important. But you know, obviously, if you don't want to purchase these, you know, you could probably use
the cotton. You can go with the old t-shirts washed really well and cut them into pieces and just
an older t-shirt,
really old, really wore out.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned about the newer t-shirt or 100% cloth because
too much.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're right.
Okay, and so I think that's it. So that's all. We just wanted to do that little review.
Yeah.
And the next step is we're going to do greasing of the bearings.
Oh, I like that. And we're going to oil some parts and show that too.
Yeah.
We'll do that right there, right? Want to do that?
That's right.
All right, we'll be back. Part 3A, Section 1, Applying Grease to Bearings. Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is, huh?
Yeah, but there's something exciting. Can I share it?
Sure, please.
If he's applying grease to bearings, that means he's opened those sealed bags he's been lecturing everybody not to open while they're looking at them or anything until they're ready to put them into use.
That's right. Well, I'm actually going to I haven't opened up the packaging yet. I'm going to do that on camera.
See, just like you preach.
That's right.
See?
So very important. Yeah, when you buy your bearings, don't get all excited and open up the packaging because they're airtight. And you want to keep them that way until we're ready to install them.
We don't want any outside foreign objects. Yeah.
That's right.
Just want to help here.
No, good point. So let's move up to the close-up view for this.
Fantastic.
Before we show you the bearings that we're going to use for this spindle, I want to show you some bearings from other manufacturers. So let me bring these sets in. Okay, and there's actually a reason why you see 4 sets of bearings. Okay, these are angler contact bearings. They're all duplex pairs, so 2 bearings per set. And these are all for the Levin Accessory Spindle. And in addition to the accessory spindle we're going to do in front of you right now, off camera, we're actually going to do 3 additional spindles.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that's why you see 4 sets. I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you some of the brands we use. Okay, our primary brand, which is our favorites from SKF.
Yeah, they've been really good with us.
They have. You know, we've never...
I mean, the bearings. We don't know the company.
Yeah, not the company. But the product itself, SKF has never let us down. And we even use their bearings for like when we restore a electric motor.
They seem to work really well in the electric motor application, actually. It's just really quiet.
Yeah, they're quiet bearings and they just function really well. So that's why we have 2 sets out for that.
Is this one a plain wrap?
Oh yeah, I should probably show the brands better.
I thought maybe you had one no-namer you were going to squeeze in your spindle.
No. Okay, this set's actually from Barden. This is the same. This is actually the supplier of the grease we're going to use, which unfortunately they discontinued, but that's fine.
Yeah, they do. They look alike here.
Yeah, look at that. Same
like
packaging.
A kit.
Yeah. And then RHP. These are good bearings. These I believe are made in England, if I'm correct. I can't see, but yeah. But they're all very good bearings, and we've used these before. But, you know, when we're doing a lot of spindle rebuilds, once in a while, we like to throw in a couple of other brands, you know, because we don't want to get stuck in one brand for everything. Sometimes it's nice to experiment.
That's the way it is, so that's the way we do it. That's not how we are at all. Actually, we're constantly going, well, that one's good, but what if there was something better out there?
Right, you'll never know unless you try it.
These aren't the only 3 choices in life anyway, right here either. So don't.
That's true.
This isn't no rule book here.
No, there are additional brands, and just so you know, we will share the full part numbers for each of these brands in our live document.
Yeah, then to download it. That's nice.
And maybe some additional brands with it.
Oh.
So we just want to show that to you. Okay, for this particular spindle we're going to do in front of you, I think we've selected the Barden. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to need for this job. Okay, so we have our bearings. Okay, let me bring in the grease. Okay, this is, let's see, this is that Kluber Isoflex MBU 15. And here, let me open it up so you can
Oh yeah,
see
you
it
shared
better.
this kit when we were showing materials you were going to need.
That's right.
I remember the big syringe.
Exactly, it's pretty big. Okay, so you're going to need the grease. Okay, and although Barden doesn't supply this anymore in the syringe, we are listing another supplier that does this. Okay.
And it's just as good. It's just the same thing. It's just repackaged by another company.
Exactly. The grease itself is identical. They're just packaging.
And that's all we care about.
That's right. Okay, the next thing is, because these bearings are so small, it's really hard to gauge the exact amount of grease using this big syringe. Yeah, and I'll show that in the chart shortly.
Yeah, it's just those lines are just too big, huh?
Yeah, they're just too big, which would be fine if you're doing really large bearings. But for our little tiny bearings, it's just really hard to gauge that. So what we recommend is purchasing, what we use is a 1 milliliter syringe. See, it's much smaller because, you know, we can gauge much better the amount of grease to apply.
It's like getting a shot at the doctor in that size.
It is. It's the same type of syringe, like a flu shot or something. Okay. And then, okay, next thing, you need a little syringe tip. And this is an 18 gauge. For this application, 18 gauge is the size we like to use. And
isn't that called like a blunt tip or something? Isn't it? You're always telling me.
Very important. You're right. They call this blunt tip because if you notice, see, it won't penetrate. This is actually used, this type of tip is used in labs for dispensing liquids, you know, from one place to another or whatever.
Oh, when they fill up those trays with different little samples, I've seen it.
Exactly. Yeah. Trays, test tubes, whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, where you don't need to, you know, inject a medication.
No penetration, yeah.
Yeah. And these are really nice because they're completely safe. If you can see, it won't go in. So it's very blunt, just like they say. Oh. Okay, so you'll need one of those. And then I think that's it. And then obviously we have our cloth ready for a mess. Because we will make a little mess, which I'll show you. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this one at a time. Okay. Okay, we're ready to open up the bearings. Okay, we got 1, 2, and our little tiny pamphlet.
Oh, those are nice to read.
Yeah, you know, most bearings you purchase from a variety of manufacturers, they'll include this little tiny pamphlet. And it's a pretty neat little pamphlet. They just kind of, you know, they're usually all the same. You know, they give you kind of the tolerance what kind of tolerance you should expect from these bearings, and also the bearing arrangement that we talked about in part 1. And remember, for all the Levin spindles, we're doing a back-to-back arrangement.
And it's just nice to get a little bit refreshed before you start.
That's true.
You're on the final phase. We can't take this back apart.
That's right. So it's a good little refresh to refresh your memory,
nice.
right? And just a little tidbit of information. Okay, you'll notice like here they're telling you that you may see these markings on the outside races. They're like arrows. And let me tell you, on these little tiny bearings, on the 7001 that we're using for this spindle, I very rarely see those markings. They usually only show up when they get larger in size. So instead of the markings being on the outside, the marking is along with the marking on the internal race, on the face. So let's see if I could find it
that's
here.
handy.
Yeah, okay, so I could see them. Here, so I could bring it up for a better view. So here, see, okay, that's better. When we install these bearings on the spindle, we got to ensure that these are lined up with the witness mark we made on the spindle. So we'll get into that when we're ready for that.
But they need to be lined up.
Yeah, they need to be lined up, exactly.
In the end, okay.
Yeah. But I just want to mention that because, in case somebody opens up their bearings and they're like, where's the markings on the outside?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, don't panic. If you don't see it on the outside, you'll see it on the face. Okay. Okay, so let's put these here for now. Remember, we don't open these until we're ready to work with them. I'm just going to keep them right there. Okay, now let's bring in the grease. So we'll open this package up.
Okay, there's the actual grease. And this plunger, okay.
Yeah, remember, although Barden doesn't supply this anymore, it's a discontinued product, we will list a source for this that somebody else has taken over. The grease itself is identical.
Still the same good, high quality product.
Exactly, and still comes from the same manufacturer in Germany. It's just that they buy it in bulk and they put it in the syringe.
That's nice.
So we're going to give you that source and we'll put it, where the live document is. Okay, so let's put this aside. So we got this. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is the 1 milliliter syringe we talked about. So let's open this up. Okay, and this is a good time to talk about this. Okay, in the box that this grease came in included a couple of pamphlets. Okay, and the one we're interested in is this one that says instructions. And this is pretty good. This is just really gives you some basic instructions on how they recommend you how to grease the bearings. And
sounds like some pretty important reading then.
Yeah, so it's pretty important. And what I'll do is I'll scan both sides of this. And again, we'll put it, where the live document is, so you can download a copy of this. Oh. Okay, but this is what's really important. On the back side, they include this chart. And what this chart shows is, okay, the general rule for the amount of grease to apply to these bearings is, if you look at the area inside the bearing where the ball bearings are in the bearing cage.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, in the empty area, the amount of grease they want to apply is anywhere from 20 to 30% of grease.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the general guidelines is 20 to 30%. But especially when doing these small, tiny bearings, a lot of times that's hard to gauge the exact amount or close. So that's why this chart's really nice. Is they tell you in cc's the exact amount of grease you should be applying inside your bearing depending on the size. So in our case, our general bearing part is 7001.
Sure.
So then what we do is we look up the last 2 digits. So we would look up 01 and it would be series 100. So what they're calling for is 0.25 cc.
Oh, but cc, now I remember when you opened the syringe, it said ml. Is that going to confuse me? How do I know how many mLs is a cc or vice versa?
Very important. Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, ml stands for milliliter, and cc stands for cubic centimeters.
Okay.
And interestingly, it's identical. It's 1 for 1.
Oh.
So when they tell you 0.25 cc, it'll be 0.25 milliliter on the syringe. So that's good to know. Okay, and what's also interesting is, okay, so for all the Levin accessory spindles, it'll be 0.1. Okay, for the D collet headstocks, it's 0.3, and they call for 0.50 cc.
Oh, twice as much.
Yeah. And then for the 3C collet headstock,
that's the biggest one we have, the biggest spindle.
Yeah. And that would be 0.5, and that's even double that.
That's 4 times the original amount down there. So yeah, that looks about right. If you look at those spindles in your hand, huh?
Exactly.
You need about 4. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause the size really, I mean, it
pretty much plays along the lines of the size of our bearing diameters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So for this step, we're just concerned with the 0.25 cc or ml. Okay. And we got our, okay, we'll put this aside. We aren't going to use this yet. Okay, so for the goal is we aren't going to use this syringe because if you look at the gauge, the resolution's not fine enough. See, so you got 20 cc's. See, so let's see, so here, every line is 1 cc. And see, we only need a quarter of that, 0.25. So how are you going to gauge a quarter of this?
Nah, I'd be guessing.
Too difficult. So what we do is, that's why we use the 1 milliliter syringe. And see, because what we can do is, we're going to fill this up with 0.25, which is right here.
Oh, much more refined.
Yeah, look how refined that is. So much better. All right, let's get started. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to fill our syringes with grease. Because what we mentioned was, we don't want to use the big syringe just because, as we mentioned, the gauge is just, it's too large for small bearings. We need higher resolution.
We'll be lucky to use that on the Barker size bearings. They're much bigger. That's about as big as we get around here.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Because this will do a lot of spindles, especially our tiny spindles.
Oh yeah.
Okay, one of the things I want to mention is, okay, we mentioned that each of the bearings we're going to be greasing, which are the 7000 ones, each get 0.25 cc amount of grease. Okay, with that said, for each bearing, I like to use its own individual syringe. So since for this accessory spindle, we're doing 2 angular contact bearings, so I'm going to use 2 syringes. And I like doing that because these are cheap enough. They're cheap for a box of 500. So, but you could, if you don't have enough syringes, for example, and you just want to use one, really important, you don't want to use it and refill it, because you will never successfully refill a syringe without getting air bubbles in it.
Right, and this isn't a liquid where you're just going to, like you see on TV when they shoot the syringe and shoots the air out and before they put the shot. This isn't, it's grease, so it's not going to happen.
Exactly how they fill it up and they tap it.
Yeah.
Right. So, no, you're right. So that's why it's really important. So let's say we were going to use 1 syringe. Okay, then that would mean you would have to fill this up to 0.5 cc. Okay, but even at that, we don't like doing that, right, Lance?
I worry because, okay, so you're going to see him. He's going to be real focused. He's going to even have his loop, and he's going to be really on this thing. And the problem is, he's not going to be paying attention. It's not like it's going to stop at 25.
That's right.
Going down from 50 to 25 is not going to happen. And the other thing that we get confused with a little bit around here on this series is, we're doing, these are 25s, as he said right now.
That's right.
And then the next bearing size we do around here is 50.
Right.
And then the next one and the biggest one in the series on Levins are 100, right?
That's correct.
So we don't want to, it's just hard to get confused when you're in the zone and you're doing your work, right. So that's Pat's reasoning.
Exactly. And those are 2 really important points, especially the ones where, you're so focused, greasing the bearings, and all of a sudden you don't realize instead of 0.25 cc, you've done 0.35. You went over by, by 0.10 cc's, and that's really easy to do when you're focused.
Yeah.
And and that's a really bad problem because the only way you're going to resolve that problem is you're going to have to clean all that grease out of that bearing, and you really don't want to do that because anytime you have to clean a bearing, you're going to introduce contaminants.
So now you saved $1 on a syringe.
That's
right. And you've cost yourself probably some risks.
That's right.
And some grease. That's not free either.
That's right. So, okay. So that's why you see 2 syringes. I'm going to fill 2 of them, each with 0.25 cc of grease. Okay. You can share a needle though, because you'll see, after we insert the grease, we put the tip on, and then we have to, we're going to have to set the grease, basically. Sure. Because obviously when we fill up the syringe, we're going to fill it up with more grease than we need.
Right. We're not going to stop at 25.
That's right. We don't know that. So we have to put a little more than we need, put the tip on, and then squeeze out the excess while we're getting rid of the air bubbles at the end.
So when you swap the tip, you're shooting that. That definitely guarantees it's clean.
That's right. Because
pushes the air out.
Exactly. We're pushing the air out.
Because it's at the very end.
It's at the very end. Exactly. So what you can do is when there's grease in here, you can't now feed more grease into it, because then you're going to have this cavity of a bubble.
There may be one inside, you can't even see it.
That's right. So, okay, and the tips, I think we mentioned, these are the blunt tips we use. And for this application, I like to use 18 gauge. Okay, and then I don't think I've shown this tip. This is a plastic tip. And you actually, I'm not sure if the other company now provides it, but when we purchased these from Barden in this box, which Barden discontinued, I think we mentioned as well, they would include one of these. Okay. And these are really nice to use because if you don't use this tip and you try to fill the syringe like this, you're going to make a big mess. So that's what I use this for, and I'll demonstrate that. Okay, as you notice, I haven't opened up the syringe yet because remember, when we're working on these bearings, you don't want to open up anything until you're ready to use it. Okay, and this is, we're using a special cloth.
Yeah, the Kim mats.
The Kim white.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely lint-free. Okay, so this is what I do is, first of all, I take a measurement. Okay, probably about there, I think. Okay, that's actually pretty good, but I have to open it up a little. Okay, so what I do is about right there. Did that get you, Lance?
Yeah, he shot me.
Okay, so so that's... See, and then we're going to use this tip to fill the syringes, just like that. Perfect. Okay.
Oh, I put that cap back on there.
Oh, it's always a good habit to do, yeah. Okay.
There it goes.
Okay, that's probably more than enough. But I'd rather be more than enough because, again, we can't come back and refill it.
Nope.
Okay, whoops. Before I do that, I like to top it off, and you'll see why. Okay, see how I topped it off like that? Okay, and the reason why I do that is because
no room
I want no air bubbles. So what I now do is now when I put the plunger in, so I kind of work it in there so there's no air bubbles being introduced. See? Just like that.
Very
good. Sense?
Sure.
Okay, just wipe off the.
And it creates a little additional mess, but it's for a good reason right there.
That's right. Okay. Okay, very important. You know, as you notice, I just push the plunger down just a little bit. Okay, it's very important. Now we want to put our tip on, because if you bleed it all the way down to your 0.25 and then put the tip on, you now have no grease in the tip.
Right, you got air.
Yeah, you got air in there.
You got to push that air through and out.
Exactly. See, so now that we have the tip on, now we can measure exactly 0.25. Yeah, see, I put way too much. I kind of knew it too. Make sure, okay. I want to make sure I get on camera. It's right there.
It's not a lot of extra grease though. It just looks like it.
Yeah, you don't have to be precise. I usually go about a little over like 0.26 cc's. You know, because the plunger's not complete. The end's not completely flat. You know, it has that little radius.
And that's going to make sense in a little while. Anyway,
yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Okay. So this is ready to go. So this is ready to do one bearing. Okay, but while we're at it, put this aside. And here, I'll go ahead and prepare.
We're going to do two all right now anyway.
That's right.
Get a little closer this time, perhaps.
Right there, and then, okay, I want to remember to top it off. Okay, see, just like that. And just like before, let me. Okay, so just work it in there. So just like that. Okay, remember, we just want to go just down a little bit. Okay, just like that. See, you left that room right there. Okay, great. See, now this is ready. So after we're done greasing one bearing, so after we're done with this, we're going to remove the tip, put on here, and then we can, you know,
yeah,
meter down, exactly, meter down to 0.26, thank you, and get rid of all that excess air in here. And basically we're re-bleeding the needle as well.
That's right.
So
it'll be all ready to go again.
Exactly. So just put that there. Okay, so these two are good. Okay, I think we're going to open up our first bearing.
Ooh. It's official. We've really got the timer started.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good. And be very careful. You know, you don't want to, you know, don't try spinning it or anything.
No playing.
You're just, yeah, no playing. I know, because even I like to play with new bearings, but there's a big no-no.
It's an expensive spinner.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Spinner fidget, is that what those things are, or whatever they are?
Oh, yeah, the fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we apply the grease, you don't want to just, you know, just apply the bead on top of the cage, because let me tell you what our objective is, what our goal is. Okay, let me set this here. Okay, here's the goal, is we want to apply the grease on the ball bearings and inside the raceways, because when we run the braking procedure, see, we start at a very low RPM and work our way up.
So gradually just the grease just starts spreading around and out and around and out.
That's right. See, we want the cage and the ball bearings to gradually move the grease slowly, you know, outside. And that's the reason why on angular contact bearings for this application, that's why you don't want to pack the bearings, because you don't want the cage and the ball bearings to run into the grease, because that causes friction.
Adds to heat and
resistance.
resistance.
Adds to heat. Yeah, adds friction, resistance, and that can actually cause your ball bearings to overheat.
Oh yeah.
And that's actually a big problem in the machine spindles, is overheated. You know, because when bearings overheat, a lot of times they'll even seize.
Can I share what happens at the end here when you've got your little bearings and you got your balls and you got your your raceways and it's
Sure.
spreading out and spreading out? It goes to one really final spot before that's all it's going to do, until it falls out somewhere.
All right.
And that's that it's going to go into the fabric reinforced phenolic resin bearing cage. That brown, light, dark kind of brown colored thing in there, or looks reddish.
Yeah, reddish right here.
Okay, it's actually a fabric material, and that's going to absorb some of that grease. And that's our last frontier that keeps that all nice and lubricated, and that's what makes that an advanced bearing over those metal cage types or anything like that.
Right.
I hope we've got all that right.
That's right. Okay, and here, let me put this down. What I like to use is I like to wear a loop. Okay, that's just personal preference. You know, I like to be very precise. Okay, let me just see. How's the camera?
Well, I think you're...
Am I in the way? Can I?
Yeah, there's a good picture there. I'd like you to be more in the middle of the screen.
Well, that view just wasn't working out, was it, Lance?
No, we could do better. He was looking for a good reason to come over and use that microscope as his excuse to keep it.
Well, I have to justify the microscope. Yeah, so that's why we have a really nice view for you guys, because we think this is really important to show you how we inject the grease into the bearings.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to really convey the points of where he wants what he wants you to learn from this little lesson here.
Yeah, because this is really important.
It is.
Okay, just to note, okay, the bearing's currently laying down on one of the Kim wipes. You know, it's that lint-free cloth, because otherwise we wouldn't recommend this, and we normally don't do this either. We're just doing this to demonstrate this to you.
That's correct.
So, okay, so I'm doing the first bearing, and I had the first syringe, and so you could see I'm just about 0.26 cc of grease.
Yeah. Now, right, can I interject there? Now,
yes.
Now, that doesn't mean we're going to use all of that, does it? It's there if we need it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, when we set these syringes with the amount of grease that's recommended by Barden, it doesn't mean that we have to use all the grease we've measured. It just means that we don't want to exceed that amount. So that's what we're really shooting for, you know, because what happens if we use too much grease?
Oh, well, here's my problem. No grease might not even be as bad as too much grease. Too much grease is going to overheat.
That's right.
You're going to burn that bearing right out.
That's right, and that's the biggest issue, is too much grease. And that's a really common problem, you know, because people are used to packing bearings. And I think that's the #1 problem, where people just apply too much grease. And that's what we're kind of sharing with you, is just because we have this amount of grease, don't be forced to use it all. You know, and I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to go around twice. Okay, so there's actually 2 stages to greasing a bearing. Okay, so let me start first. Okay, so I'm going to lift it up a little so you can see it better. Oh, while we're here, let me show you a couple of things, since we have such a good view of this bearing. Okay, see on this inner race, see that asterisk? That asterisk is that mark that the manufacturer makes. And this is, see, there's that one on the inner race, and here's the other asterisk on the outer race. And these are the markings
for the high point.
For the high point, that's right, that we have to align properly, which we'll show you when we install the bearings.
Yeah.
So, but I just have a good view right here, so I thought I'd mention those. Okay. And different bearings can use different symbols. You know, I've seen bearings that use dots. you know, and whatnot. So you got to pay attention, you know, to what the manufacturer uses.
They'll be there.
Yeah, they'll be there. So, okay, what you want to first focus on is you first want to go and focus on injecting grease into the raceway. See right here between the ball bearings. So first,
there's that groove right in there. So
yeah, see that groove right there?
Bearings are riding in there.
Yeah, so this area right here, we want to fill entirely with grease. And we're just going to go around the bearing and do one at a time. So here, let's see if I can do it.
So as he does that, the great lesson here is you'll notice he's going to spread that grease out really equally in certain locations all the way around, right, Patrick? So that it's all balanced and it's not just the amount of grease, it's where it's placed.
That's right. Okay, see how I'm doing that? Just focusing on the raceways.
It's looking really nice.
Yeah, if you're doing this for the first time, you know, you want to periodically check how much grease you're using, because you know you don't want to, you know, go 3/4 of the way around the bearing and realize you've used all the grease.
Yeah, that's not. You can't put some more.
Yeah.
And we're just doing this from experience. We just know.
That's right.
How long that syringe is going to last, but it comes with time. Really good.
I should have plenty left.
Oh,
Yeah, see,
yeah.
about 0.16. I didn't use that much. Okay. So so this is what I do. Okay. I now want to coat each individual ball bearing. So see, I just go, usually just like that. Okay, that wasn't. Yeah, that's better.
That's good. The microscope going to show your skills or not.
Okay, but you get the idea. See, just kind of get.
It's looking really good. Okay, how's that balance looking?
Okay, yeah, let me get this one's kind of messy. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's see how much grease do I have left? Oh, I got plenty.
Oh, we're doing really well.
Okay, so like what? That's about 0.15. So I've only used about.
That's it for that side of the bearing in it.
So the next stage is what I usually do is I usually flip it over, and this is a good. See, we can kind of gauge how much grease. Yeah, see, it has.
We've gotten those races good.
Yeah. But see here, this is a good opportunity. See how it's a little weak right there?
There's a low one, yeah.
Yeah, so see, I just like to...
So go around, take a look at each one.
Yeah. Okay, really important, you don't want to put any grease on the top raceway. We're only focusing on the bottom portion. It's on the inner raceway only. So very important. Okay, on this side, I'm not going to put any grease on the ball bearings themselves. We don't need to do that.
And this is why we use individual syringes per bearing, right? Because see, you've got to focus on the ball bearings, on the race, on the volume. And it's just too much to keep track of whether you've used half or not, or, you know, this kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's looking really nice.
Just keep going around. Let's see how much I have left. Okay, well, about what, 0.8? Yeah.
2.5.
Yes, that's, I could feel more.
The nice thing about the microscope is it means you don't have to do it wearing your loop.
That's true.
If you're doing this at home, this is at your place, your workshop, this you want to use a loop, right, Ben?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because normally, you're right, I do use a loop.
Yeah.
Or if you do it sometimes. We both have to use loops.
Yeah.
Our eyes aren't that good.
I can't see what's going on in there. That, you know, it's smaller than you think it is.
Okay, but so you get the idea.
How's our volume doing? A little check-in, or?
That's good. I think I'm happy with that. I have about, okay, so we've used, okay, we're at 0.26. So I've really used, so 0.26 and we're about 0.5. So what, we've used about 0.21.
Yeah.
I think I'm happy with that. I don't think I want to put any more. Yeah,
no.
See, look at that. That's plenty.
It's rich. They look good. They look happy.
Yeah, see that?
It's fantastic.
Okay, then what I do, and Barden actually recommends doing a half a turn, but I usually do a full turn.
I'm going to tell on you.
It's just like that. See? This shows you how it looks. See, like that. Let me turn it around. Okay. See how it's already... See if you can see. Let me get my... See how the grease is already wrapping around the ball bearing? See, and I've
Oh,
already...
yeah. See it? You can see it in the outer race now. You see that
Yeah.
up there?
See how-
the bottom down at the bottom there? Look at those. See them?
Yeah, see the...
Starting to see that grease that he told you not to put. It'll get there.
Yes, it'll get there, so don't worry about
It'll
it.
get there, and it'll get there during the break-in, huh?
That's right. The break-in... See, what the break-in's going to do is...
Fling it.
It's going to... First of
I
all...
call it that.
Well, first of all, I like to think it's going to spread the grease all around the ball bearings, around the upper and lower raceways, and then any excess, it's going to throw to the side. But it's going to be there right on the side, so if it needs that lubrication, it'll be right there. Oh, but then like what you also like to mention, it also gets absorbed by the phenolic
That's
cage.
that little brown ring cage on there. See?
Yeah. See, this is actually...
See the fiber in it?
Yeah, that's fiber reinforced phenolic resin.
And that's the fiber that absorbs that grease.
That's right.
Oils. Yeah.
Yeah, so really interesting. And that's why this is so important to have instead of like a steel cage, because this does have lubrication properties to it, which is so important on an angular contact bearing or a machine spindle.
Very nice, yes.
Okay. Okay, so I won't show the second bearing because it's identical.
Just do exactly the same thing again and throw away whatever's left over.
That's correct.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, see, I have what, 0.5, yeah, what I mentioned, 0.5, yeah, about 0.5 cc of grease. So I'm just going to toss this.
Well, you're going to take your tip and you're going to put it on the new one, right, and then throw it out.
That's right.
There we go.
Exactly. All right.
Okay,
so
guys.
We'll see you when we're done. Okay, that seems good. Feels really good.
Yeah, well, we got one perfect pair of greased bearings ready for installation onto the spindle, huh?
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Nicer than the ones I took out, I'll tell you that.
Okay, good. Very good job. Okay, that's it for this section. The next section is we're going to install the bearings onto the spindle.
All right. Part 3A, Section 2, Installing Bearings onto the Spindle. Well, that was a lot too.
Yeah. So great, we greased the bearings. Now we're ready to install them on the spindle.
We are.
Okay, and I actually have all the parts we're going to need for this section in front of me. But before we get to that, let's talk about a couple of tools we're going to need for this job. Okay, right. First thing and most important is you're going to need some type of a bearing installation tool. You know, this is something that you can purchase or you can even make, and we'll show that. But what we use is we use a kit from SKF. And what the kit includes is it includes a dead blow hammer. And this is really important. You don't want to use a regular hammer because this does two things. It minimizes the rebound that you get with the hammer.
Okay.
And then the other thing is it provides a much stronger striking force.
And one thing I've noticed by using that hammer, if I could share,
sure,
is that because it's a dead blow, so when it hits something, it's not like it's going to hit, bounce, and the part's going to fly across the room, as we all know from doing hammering.
Exactly.
It's really got that handy extra added kind of helping this.
Much more control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we only get one shot, huh?
That's right. You don't get two shots at this.
Yeah, this isn't one of those. This is what you know. You want to go ahead and share this shaft here?
Okay, yeah. So the other part of this is we have this bearing die. Okay, and this die size is made specifically for the bearing size we're going to be pressing onto the spindle. And what's really important about this is the internal size. And that's really important because when we install these spindle bearings, we want to be sure we press only on the internal bearing race or both of them together. See, this die is actually going to press both the internal and external races at the same time.
But typically, because it's a shaft, you're always wanting to focus all of your energy on that center for the center ring there for the shaft.
That's right. What you don't want to do is press only on the outside bearing race.
Oh no!
Because that's where you're going to damage your bearings. And these are expensive bearings, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so and then this little die just clips onto the striking post.
And then, you know...
Oh, let me show real quick.
Sure.
You know, so if you don't want to buy this, you know, you could just buy any dead blow hammer. You know, be sure it's quality. And then we've made, for smaller bearing sizes, we've made our own little bearing press tools out of Delrin. See, just like this.
It's a stringy mess of a material, but it makes a really nice looking tool.
Yeah.
And so durable. Very durable.
So as you can see, you know, you
make your own.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar. You know, so you can make your own. You don't have to buy this kit. And Delrin's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So just another option for you.
And I guess I just have one tool left needed for this job at the moment, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
For some of our viewers, they might recognize this as an official Canadian hockey puck. Because remember we said you only get one shot to put these bearings on the shaft and you can't go back.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to call this a goal in one.
You're absolutely right. No, actually, kidding aside, this is actually really important. And you know what? A hockey puck just happens to be the best solution for this.
It's real popular here in the desert, you know.
No, it's not. But why this is so... I mean, it's a perfect solution for this application is that it's really rigid and hard, which is really important, but it's just soft enough so that way when we're pounding, you know, we're pounding on the bearings to press them onto the spindle, it won't damage the spindle.
It feels a lot like Delrin, except it's not.
Yeah.
But it does. It has a really, but it's perfect for this. It's absolutely, It works so well for us. We're just lucky that Patrick stumbled upon it one day and figured out it was actually the best thing to use.
Yeah, the best solution, and and you can get these anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, very popular item. So that's what we're going to use for the platform.
Great.
And I think that covers all the tools. Oh, and obviously we've got our nye oil.
Oh yes. Okay. As he takes apart from the parts bin, and he has 3 in front of him right now, the first step here before he does anything, he's going to lightly cover threads, the metal surfaces. And in this particular case, right now, he's going to do this shaft and probably this ring, this internal spacer for the bearings. And then get started here.
That's a good point because, you don't want to just oil all the parts.
Yeah, don't go, I'll just oil all this right now. I'm going to build it right now. But maybe you have to stop for a couple hours. Something doesn't work right. Those are like magnets to dust and foreign objects in the area.
Right.
It's just naturally the way life is globally.
Right, so just oil the parts as you use them.
Yeah, and you don't need much. Remember, just a drop, and it goes quite a ways.
It really does. You don't need a lot of oil. Just try one drop and just spread it.
Just follow threads and do everything. It's really neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, before we install the bearings onto the spindle, I just want to mention a couple of really important points. and that's
these are really important too. Yeah. This is it. One shot.
This is it. Yeah, that's what Lance is mentioning. This is because once we install the bearings on the spindle, you cannot remove them without damaging them.
You're going to have to reorder them.
That's right. So, and these are expensive, so you don't want to do that. So, two things we got to pay attention to when we install these is the first thing is the bearing arrangement. Okay, if you remember, these are going to be installed back-to-back arrangement configuration. So what that means is, if you look at the bearing, okay, the side that has the writing, see this has the writing on it, where if I turn it, see there's no writing. See, this is considered the front of the bearing, and the side with the writing is considered the back of the bearing. So with a back-to-back configuration, that means these are going to be installed on the spindle, and with this accessory spindle, you know, it's going to have the spacer, actually two spacers, the internal spacer and the external spacer, right?
Yeah.
See? And really important is the faces of the backs of the bearings are going to be facing each other. Okay? So you got to pay attention to that when we install these. Okay, the second thing are the two markings that I pointed out earlier on the bearings. Okay, remember the asterisks? There's the asterisk on the inside race, and another asterisk on the outside race. Okay, and these have to be lined up. The inner one has to be lined up opposite to the witness marks we made onto the spindle.
Because these are the high points.
That's right.
And those are the high points.
Exactly. See, the manufacturers, they've measured for the high points on these bearings, and they've used, well, Barden used asterisks to represent the high spot on the bearings. So what Lance is saying is, when we install the bearings, we want to make sure the run out on each of these are opposite to each other.
We're trying to cancel it out.
Exactly.
And I'm glad that they put that high point mark on their bearings, because we had a hard time finding our high points, remember?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
They're hard to find on a Levin spindle.
Oh, it really is.
Okay.
Okay. And I think I mentioned it, but I'll just reiterate again. Remember, on these smaller bearings, you won't see the arrows on the outside race as you will on the larger size bearings. But you will have the little asterisk or the marking on the outside race on the side.
It tells you that that's it. Yeah, okay.
Because in a lot of times, like even this little booklet I think I showed earlier from Barden that came with these bearings, see, they show arrows on the outside, but it doesn't apply to these 7001 bearings.
Yeah.
So don't get concerned when you open your bearings up for doing an accessory spindle. Don't get concerned that you don't see those arrows, because I've never seen them on this size of bearing. Okay. Okay. I think we're ready to install the bearings. So let me get our hockey puck, or our bench block. Okay, this is what I do. So I position the spindle to where the witness mark is facing me. I just try and make it a habit so it's consistent all the time. Okay, but first of all, very important is I got to oil the spindle.
Yay!
Okay, especially on the spindle, you know, as we're assembling the parts, you know, we've preached to you that we want to apply a thin coat of oil. Okay, but especially important on the spindle is we want to get oil on the portion where we slide the bearings on to assist, you know, in the installation of the bearings. Okay, while you're doing this, be careful not to wipe your witness marks. Or you're going to have to go back to the surface plate and try to find these high points.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
No. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so I'll position this. Okay, so the witness marks, see right here, they're facing me. Okay, just like that. Okay, then I'll grab the first bearing. Okay, what I like to do, okay, I'm wearing a loop. Let me switch cameras. See, I'm wearing my loop. Because what I like to do is, every time I'm ready to install one bearing with my loop, I like to just take one last look at the bearing to make sure I don't see no, you know, like a piece of lint, you know, a hair, an eyelash, anything. You don't want no foreign objects in this bearing. So I just look it over really carefully. Okay, this one's really clean. And
it's really important. If you'll notice, these bearings are still standing up. They've been standing up ever since he greased them. Once that greasing was completed on that Kim wipe, they were immediately stood up and put under their glass. Well, they were waiting for us to come along right here.
That's right. We use one of those watchmaker part covers.
Yeah, just want you to know that. So the likelihood of lint is really limited at that point because of the process we take.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to do a first bearing. Okay, so two things. Okay, well, we want to make sure the back of the bearing or the face is pointing up. Okay, and then that asterisk on the inner race, we want to make sure it's 180 degrees from the witness mark.
As far away as we can get from it.
Yeah, so it's going to be opposite to me. Okay. I'm just going to use my loop to make sure it's perfect. Before we hammer this in, I do want to mention something. Okay, when you order these bearings, you know, you'll notice these values, and I'll explain why I'm going to bring them up. Okay, see these tolerance numbers right here? Like these larger bearings, it shows a -4, -3. This one's -2, -2. Okay, these are the tolerance of the races. So basically, the inner race, okay, I should mention, the first number refers to the inner race. The second number refers to the outer race. Okay, and what this is telling us is they're saying that the inner race, I believe that's 12 millimeter. But basically, let's just go the base measurement. So let's say this base measurement's 12 millimeter. They've measured 12 millimeter minus 4 microns. So it's 4 microns smaller than 12 millimeter. Okay, and that's important. See how this was -4 and this is -2? See, if we were installing these bearings on the spindle and these were of the same size, for example, this set's going to be a little harder to install.
It's going to have a lot more resistance.
Exactly, because this is 2 microns smaller than this set.
Yeah.
See? And the reason why I bring that up is because especially if you're installing or rebuilding multiple spindles, you're going to find out that, hey, wow, these bearings went on really nice on this spindle, but guy, on my second spindle, you know, it took a lot of force.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not a tolerance issue with Levin. It's actually a tolerance difference with the bearings themselves.
Yep.
So, just wanted to mention that.
Okay, permission to hold the puck, eh?
Please do, sir. Okay. Just be really careful.
I'm flush, solid.
Okay, I'm going to stand up. Thank you. Okay, and what I check is my loop. I just want to make sure the inner race is right on the spindle shoulder. Okay, and it is. So it's
how's your opposing highs?
That's right. Okay, and let's see. The witness mark is facing me, and right on the other side. Oh, I can't see it anymore, but it should be. Oh no, there it is. That's right. It's on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's right there. And so, okay, so right there. Yep, exactly 180 degrees.
Perfect. It didn't spin. We've never had that problem.
Yeah.
Pretty much stays right where we're at.
But it's always good to double, triple check.
This is your chance. This is it.
Yeah. Okay, now the next stage for this accessory spindle is we need to install the housing. And then, okay, if you notice, okay, there's two spacers. There's the outside bearing race spacer and the inside bearing race spacer. Okay, on this particular spindle, we didn't have to press out the outside spacer. And like we've mentioned to you, we don't do that unless we find it necessary.
Unless we're just too afraid of what's under there.
That's right. See, on this particular spindle, there was no need, right? No signs, so don't do it. So that's why we didn't have. That's why it's in there already. And then
now these two sides are different, right?
That's right. That's the next thing.
Okay. I get anxious.
Yeah, because as we showed earlier, yeah, you make sure you get this correct, because on one side, see the taper right there? And on the other side, it's flat. So the way this goes is the taper goes to the rear of the spindle. The flat side goes to the front of the spindle. Okay, so when we install this, we want the taper facing up. Okay, but here's really important. What we got to make sure is we got to align that marking on the outer race
to its high point on the lower race, right?
No, those don't have to match.
They're okay.
For the marking on the outer race, we just have to make sure the two markings are aligned on both bearings, match each other.
Okay.
Okay, and how I do that on this particular spindle is when I put on this housing, I put it on to where that marking matches these threaded holes. Okay. So see, I put that on, and then that way when I install the second bearing, I just do the same thing. I align the outside marking with these holes.
That's good, and that ensures that they're on the same spot.
That's right.
On the spindle, that's good.
So before I do anything, let me oil my next parts. That's good. Well, hand me one of those little cotton swabs. Okay, and then because I want a little coat of oil on the inside, I just use one of these little cotton swabs. Just go on the inside like that. And really important to get that coat of oil everywhere, because especially these parts, these are the first parts that get rusted and corroded if you don't do that. Okay, good.
And you just a point. Did you want to just put one more little drop on here because we've scraped it all down, or do you think it'll be okay with the sleeve?
Okay, with sleeves there, it wouldn't be bad to maybe put this on the top right here.
Just a little bit.
Because the bearing will stop about right there.
Yeah, but I just
help.
I just wanted to get it back on if you.
Oh, that's true. I see what you're saying. No, you're right.
I just push oil around. Oil pusher.
He really does push oil. No, but that is true. Okay, good. Okay, so let's get this all set up again. Okay, so what we want is, so I'm going to make sure the witness mark on the spindle is facing me. Okay, and then what I also do is the marking on the outer race, I also have it face me. Okay, and remember, the marking on the inner race is 180 degrees on the other side.
Yeah, that's doing the canceling.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just look. Yeah, it's good right there. See, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install this housing.
The flat goes down.
Yeah, so the flat goes down, tapers up, and then I'm going to align these threaded holes right there with my witness mark, which is also the same where the marking on the outside races also.
This is one really great practice.
Let me see. Perfect, okay. That's good. Apply my witness mark again. Perfect. Okay, now don't forget your inner spacer. Should just drop in. Okay, good. Okay, then once again with my loop, I just want to make sure this bearing's perfectly clean. Okay, I don't see anything. Okay, great. Okay, this is where it gets tricky.
Okay, now just one thing if I can.
Yes, please.
If they happen to see something with the loop in the grease, how do they get it out of there?
Oh yeah, this is what I do is, if it's like a little piece of fabric or a lint or something, I just use really good pair of tweezers. But if you're a watchmaker, then you're definitely going to have a little piece of rodicle. So, and that's what I use, you know, to get any little speck, you know, like on a watch movement.
And we're just comfortable with that.
Yeah. But, so, okay, this is what I'm going to do is, this is what I like to do is I need to get a Sharpie from Lance. Okay, because, see, we're going to be installing this bearing face down, so we aren't going to be able to see our markings. See, and we definitely need to see the marking on the inside race. So,
you're just transferring it to the other side?
Yeah, here I'll show it. That's good enough. See, just a little tiny marking. Let's see if you can see it. See that? See right in the corner right there. Okay? Oh, next, you know what? I should probably put one. It'll be easier since I'm doing this in front of the camera. Also do it for the outside race as well. Okay. I'll see it just right there. See, you should be able to see my two markings. Yep. Okay. So let's just focus. First of all, we're going to focus on
the 180.
Right here, why don't we do this? Why don't we set these two? This will be easier. So they're 180. Okay, so see on the outside race, I got my marking over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the inside race, I'm going to set 180 degrees opposite.
Sure, to pick up, yeah, from your spindle.
Exactly.
Sure, your spindle high spot.
See, now I should be able to just drop it on really carefully. Just like that. I don't think you want to hold because it'll easily spin the housing. So you got to be really careful because you don't want to turn the housing because everything's aligned. We got the spindle aligned with the inner bearing race and the outside bearing race aligned
with those two holes.
With the spindle housing, the two holes in the front. Yeah, so you got to be really...
You just got to be real firm with it. And this is where a dead blow hammer pays off.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Sounds good. Oh yeah. I like it. Yeah, I know. It's the greatest feeling.
Oh, it's the end of the accomplishment. You know, we work, and here it comes.
Yeah, if you're doing this for the first time, it never gets old.
Nope.
It's just a silky smooth feeling.
Oh, it's been a while. You feel great.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So no, great. Yeah. And remember, every time now from this stage, really important, as we start installing different parts like the spindle nut, the bearing caps and all that, every time we do one part, we always want to take one spin of the spindle to make sure we didn't impact anything. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to install the spindle nut, the bearing caps, and all these parts, turn the spindle and realize, wait, it's binding now.
It's worse than when I started or something.
And you're going to wonder what part did that.
That's really better to do it along the way.
Yeah.
You'll be able to stop, back up right where you're at.
Exactly.
And possibly fix it.
That's right.
If you get to the end, I'm not going to know where to tell you to go.
Yeah.
I think the last thing, we're done, but the last thing, right, is the witness marks. We're officially done with them.
That's right.
You always want to remove your witness marks.
That's right. Which we'll do that the next section.
Sure.
But this section's completed. So the next section, we're going to focus on installing the spindle nut. So we'll be back.
All right. Wow, we just wanted to drop in right at the end of this section here, didn't we, Patrick? Because you have a couple of specialized tools that they may or may not need. So I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. Yeah, if we take a closer look, okay, if you remember, when we were installing the bearings, you know, on our spindle, I mentioned that on the spindle housing, you know, you may or may not have to remove the outside bearing spacer, you know, from the housing. See, and on the spindle we're sharing with you, the rebuild process, we didn't have to push out the spacer. But for another spindle we're rebuilding, we did.
Yeah, so now you have two pieces.
Yeah, so I have two pieces. So you may ask, well, how did you push this out to begin with? And then how do you put it back in? Well, it's really important is to remove it, you absolutely need to make a tool that I'm going to share with you, which is this brass piece. And the reason being is, okay, just think that if this is inside the housing, see, if you press it, you can only press it up to the end, and then, you know, it's not going to be able to go anywhere because of the thin, you know, wall.
You don't have enough wall to safely,
you know, push this through. So what I did is I made a special tool. So if, let's just say, see, it sits right here.
Ooh, nice.
In this little groove. So it sits really nicely. So just think of this being pressed inside. And then we also made a little press tool out of Delrin. And see, this fits right snugly right inside the spacer, just like that. See? And then what we do, so think of this being inside. So we use this to push it through. And what's nice is there's a cavity that goes all the way through.
And it completely clears.
Yeah, it completely clears.
See that space there? That's really nice.
See? And so, yeah, really important. Because we've tried, you know, at first when we were doing this, we tried doing it without making this piece, and you just can't do it.
You just got to have it.
Yeah. Or you'll just be clumsy, you know. You'll be getting a hammer, pounding it out. And really, with these precision parts, you don't want to be doing any procedure that's really...
This is the kind of project you're doing where you're going to need to take the time, as we're showing in here, on a lot of topics. This is one of those times when you just... There's just no workaround for it. I mean, and just to prove something here, may I butt in here?
Oh, please do.
I always do, don't I? You see, we stopped just long enough to share this with you. And what you're seeing here is that we have our glass cover over... Oh, you want to go ahead?
Oh, sure.
There's the spindle we're working on right now.
Yeah, see? Because see, what we're afraid of...
It's exposed.
Yeah, see, the bearings are still exposed. And see, we don't want this sitting on the table... Because especially with the bearings being greased, the grease or the oils acts as a magnet for particles and lint and all that. So when we aren't working on it, we definitely want to keep it covered.
It also keeps it from rolling away in the event it was ever get tapped.
True.
It won't roll off the table or anything. We usually have a wedge under there, just so you guys know. If we're not around for 2 seconds and the cover's off, we do have a wedge we use that keeps it from rolling off the table. Right,
and it doesn't have to be this fancy glass cover.
The salad bowl's fine.
Yeah. which is fine. So yeah, so we thought we'd just share that, because especially if you find you're doing this rebuild on an accessory spindle and you find that you have to push the spacer out, well, this is how you do it.
Right.
All right.
Part 3A, Section 3, Installing the Spindle Nut. But before I turn you over to Patrick, I see something that gets me all excited around here, and it probably is putting us in the poorhouse in the short term, but it's doing us well in the long term. I see a box of fasteners.
Yeah, we both, I'll get to it a little bit later, but it's something we both like to do when we do any machine restorations, and we'll get to that in a bit. But before we install, okay, this section is focused on installing the spindle nut. But before we do that on the accessory spindle, okay, as you know in part 2 where we disassembled the spindle, when we removed the bearing caps and we removed the spindle nut, I left the grinding bracket attached to it because, like I mentioned, we just hate it in this state like I have it now. It's just too volatile.
So this is about the time you took it off, when you were taking the bearings out. This is about the time you took that off.
That's right. This is actually in the exact state reversed, right, when I took it to the hydraulic press.
So I guess if you're just rewinding the camera here, you're just putting it back on.
Exactly.
Well, that'll work.
So, yeah, because see, in this state, it's just one slip of the wrench, and this thing will just roll off the table. And just after rebuilding this,
when you're working on cleaning these and polishing them like we've got these in that state now, that same feeder's there. I usually use a rimmed desktop table so that it just can't roll off in my case. I've done a lot of things like folding paper towels in half and making just anything to make a little curve, just because sometimes these things slip.
Yeah, like little roadblocks.
Little roadblocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tire blocks. Yeah, I got you. Okay. So I'm going to install our grinding attachment bracket, and before I do that, I just want to mention a few things first. Okay, as I mentioned, because we're doing the spindle for the grinding attachment, I'm going to install the bracket for it. So the screw sockets are here, and I'm just going to attach it just like that. If you're doing this for a milling attachment, this is where you'll want to install it on the milling slide on that base on your milling attachment. But I want to show you, if you happen to be doing a drill press from Levin, this is what the spindle housing looks like. And everything else, all the internals between the two are identical. The only thing different is actually the spindle housing.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
See where the housing is actually part of the casting.
So that'll hold itself there.
Yeah, see, and on the drill press, what this holds for is just that main shaft. You see on a drill press. So this goes in that main shaft, and then you got your spindle right here. So, but everything else you can even see, actually it has that outside bearing race spacer already pressed in.
Yeah, it looks familiar in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Identical pair.
See that? It's just like that. Yeah. Perfect. So, and obviously, if you're working in this state, you don't have that problem with it rolling.
No.
So, but I just wanted to show you for people that haven't seen the drill press.
That's really helpful.
Okay. The only exception where you can't do anything, you'll have to work in it in this state, is if you're doing the micro drill attachment. And that's that attachment that sits on the lathe bed, and that's for drilling the really tiny micro size holes.
Yeah, all it has is that little clamp bar. It's just a little.
That's right.
You can't. Once you do that, you can't get in there.
That's right. When it's installed, I mean, you can't really work on it. And okay, yeah, you could probably start taking things apart, but you really want to take your attachment apart unless you're doing a full restoration.
Like we did.
Like we did. But if not, if you're just doing the spindle rebuild, you don't want to start taking your whole attachment apart. So just be really careful. So that's what I'm saying. If you're doing it for the micro drill attachment, you're going to have no choice but to work in this state, and just be really careful.
It's just a cautionary tale.
Yeah. Okay, being that this is our accessory spindle, which is part of our grinding attachment, we now want to mount the bracket to the spindle. But before we do that, we got to make sure that we position this all correctly, because what we don't want to do is get this assembled, and then when we start using it, we have the spindle facing the wrong way.
See, nature would tell you he's just going to mount that plate straight to that spindle, but that's would be very wrong. And
it forces me to want to do that. So I'll get to that. Yeah, it'll confuse you. Okay, so the first thing I like to do, I first like to point the front of the spindle to the left. So think of it as installed in the lathe, and it's pointing toward the headstock. Okay, and this is the front beam. This is where your collet would go in, and on this side you have your belt pulley and then your little drawbar. Okay, so let's keep it like that. Okay, now the bracket. This is what can be confusing. You would think it installs this way, but when you install this on your cross slide, it actually gets installed this way.
Yep.
So it's going to look just like this when it's fastened. So see, I'll mount on your cross slide like that, and then your grinding wheel or whatnot will be facing the headstock. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I like to now rotate it like that, both at the same time, and set it down.
Ooh, we're going to put some brand new hardware.
Yes, we are.
I get excited around new fasteners.
Oh, you know us. We always like to replace all our fasteners. And that brings up a good point. Okay, Lance and I were actually talking about this because if you look at the drawing, okay, these are the two fasteners that fasten the bracket to the spindle. Okay, and if you notice, okay, this is a parts diagram from Levin. And
it called out there. So
yeah, the call for the thread is 832 and the length is 7/16.
So I pulled that, two of those, and brought them.
That's right. And, you know, and we've done it in the past because we forget. We don't do a spindle rebuild for a while. So, you know, Lance pulls some fasteners for me. And we remember, wait, these aren't long enough. So we're going to tell you, if you see this and you're going to replace your fasteners, you don't want to get the length of 7/16. You actually want 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
And the reason being is if you use 7/16, when you install the fasteners, you're only going to get about 2 threads into the...
Right, and you've got plenty of extra space to go down further. So
plenty. Even with 1/2 inch screws, you have plenty of room, so that way you don't damage, the internal.
You think the factory did something, huh?
Yeah, because we've disassembled a lot of these, and they all have 1/2 inch fasteners. So it doesn't even follow what the parts diagram says. So we believe that in the past, Levin has made that change.
So we're going to update this copy that Lance had laying around here.
Yeah, exactly.
So next time I do I'll pull the right parts from inventory.
Yes. Okay, so we're ready to install this. Okay, it's going to go just like this.
Oh. I don't want to have to be the teacher here, but there's something missing between those two pieces of metal there.
See? I forgot the oil. Now, believe me, it's easy to forget. And you know, this is actually a critical area.
We've seen a lot of problems right here. These two pieces.
And where this is why it's critical is because it's where these two parts meet right here. This is very common between these two parts on this surface and on this surface to get rust. Very common. So that's why it's so critical and so important to be sure you oil the entire, might as well just oil.
See, he just put one drop on and he just works it around. It's not like you don't have to pour anything on there.
That's a good point. Yeah, you don't need to...
He's going to do it again. See, one drop, and that'll just take care of that whole thing. And you'll probably use the extra to go all over the chassis.
Yeah.
That's just us around here.
It's a pretty big part, so one more drop.
Splurging.
But see, what Lance is saying is, you don't have to go crazy with the oil.
No.
We just want a light coat. There. So make sure, definitely want
That's the big area.
Yeah. That's the area that we can't oil, through maintenance.
No.
See, during maintenance, we always clean and apply a light oil on all our tools. But that's an area that we can't, so make sure that's properly oiled. Good. Okay. It's going to go like that. Okay, and then remember,
See, you put that drop way on the end.
Yeah, always on the end. Oops. There we go. There we go.
Sure looks nice with those nice new fasteners on it.
Oh yeah, always. Well, you know, especially when you do a complete rebuild, it's just such a cheap cost to why not replace the fasteners? Because you're putting so much effort and time and money into everything else. Yeah, money for the bearings. You might as well replace a couple of fasteners here and there. Okay, so that's hand tight to make sure it feels good. Good. Okay, now we can really tighten it. Okay, that's good.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's how it'll sit?
Yeah, this is how you'll install it on the cross slide, just like this. So perfect.
Perfect.
Great. Okay, we're ready to install the spindle nut. Okay, we're now ready to secure the spindle on our little bench vise.
Oh yeah, that's a pan of vise.
Yeah, it is. You also have one too, but this is a little bit different. This has a different base than yours. And then I also use a different type of attachment up here, which has rubber feet.
Yeah, I see it's soft there.
Yeah. And we really like these vices, by the way.
Yeah, they're more our size.
Yeah, it's definitely our size. And they just provide so many options. They provide base options and so many top accessories.
And jaw options even, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's even that accessory we've showed in one of our videos that holds a micrometer.
Which we've used recently.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of nice little accessories they provide as options.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make it really secure. Okay, good. Feels good. Okay. Okay, the first thing we want to do is, if you remember, when we started with the spindle part, we oiled the entire surface. So what we need to do is we need to use isopropyl alcohol, and we just need to clean the head here just to get rid of any of the oil residue. And also, you'll see we still have our witness mark. Well, it's a good time to get that removed as well. And the reason why we're doing that is, for this job, we're going to use the nylon jawed pliers. And these are the same pliers we used during the disassembly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then we're also going to use our little spanner wrench. And this one has little tiny pins. These pins are 1/16 of an inch. So really tiny. And you're going to need that size because the slots in the spindle nut are really small. So that's why you need the small pin size. Okay. So let me clean the spindle first.
Get a little bit better gripping surface there.
Yeah, the reason
for what you're about to do there, huh?
Yeah, see, this is removing all the oils that we applied earlier, just to make sure we have the perfect, nice grip on it.
And your little witness mark's coming off too, huh?
Yeah.
Don't need it anymore.
Yeah, we don't need the witness mark anymore, so let's get it off. Yeah, I think that's clean. Okay, make sure the back's clean. Because remember, we have a witness mark on this guy.
Oh, yeah. Nobody needs to worry, right? We're going to be back to oil this again one last time and wipe it down before you put it away or reinstall it anyway,
That's right? That's right.
So don't...
Yeah, so we'll apply oil later. Okay. Okay, before we start installing the spindle nut, okay, remember we have that little fastener, and that fastener is what locks this nut onto the spindle after we've installed it and tightened it. So just to be safe, what we recommend is to just remove it completely.
Now that's that special from Levin only screw, right?
Yeah, you know, we've tried sourcing this screw, and you cannot find this anywhere.
So you either buy it from Levin or make them yourself.
Or make it,
right,
exactly.
Okay.
So just to warn people, yeah, if you happen to lose it, you either have to make it or buy it from Levin. Correct.
Very interesting.
Okay, so yeah, it's completely removed. Yeah, because if you forget and it's tightened, and then you try screwing it onto the spindle threads, it's gonna tear up your threads and probably even mess up your nut as well. So it's just a good practice. Okay. Oh yeah. So what I do is I like to apply just a little drop of oil at the beginning of the threads on the spindle. Okay, I just have a little excess I just want to wipe off.
Now you always put that oil right at the beginning of the threads, huh? For everything?
Yeah, I do. If you notice there and even on the fasteners, you'll notice that when I apply a drop of oil on the fasteners, I always apply it at the beginning of the threads. So that way, when you start screwing the fastener in, you'll start with a good supply of oil, which will then work its way through the threads, and then also apply that oil on the female side. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, good point. Okay. Okay, before we start now, we're ready to start installing the nut, but before we do that, okay, so we're going to use these pliers, and we're going to use them to secure, at this end of the spindle. So this is going to hold the spindle while we screw on the spindle nut. Okay, but in order to get better gripping action, what we just use painter's tape. And yeah, let me just, I think everybody's familiar with this blue painter's tape.
There you go, straight up.
Yeah, so I just get a length about that size, not important, not critical. Okay. But this is where, okay, so we're gonna turn it this way. Okay, so we want to start at this end. Okay, what we're doing is we just want to increase our gripping action.
Well, you've already wiped the slippery film oil off, and now you're just putting a little more gripping on it for that nylon, huh?
Right. Okay, and I should point this out. Okay, you'll notice, okay, why didn't you do this during the disassembly process? Okay, there's a reason for it. We don't like to show it because we don't recommend it for two reasons. Okay, for one reason, we're using this really large pair of, nylon jawed pliers. So that's pretty large. But typically, people will buy the smaller plier version, which doesn't really give you good gripping action. So
and you see them real commonly.
Yeah, they're more common.
Yeah.
And where these aren't as common, see, in this larger pair really allows you to really torque on the head quite a bit. But if you're using, especially like the small, short plier version, that's why we definitely recommend the tape. Okay, but why we don't recommend it during the disassembly is because we don't want to encourage people to get really tight on the spindle and then with their spanner wrench, really try to aggressively.
We don't want that aggression.
Yeah, because see what happens is, this is we're going to admit this is from personal experience. So
yeah, this isn't the first pair we ever bought.
No, we bought many of these. So learn from our mistakes. Okay, these are, remember I said these are 1/16 inch. I mean, these are tiny pins, and these easily bend, and they even break off. So what I didn't want to do is I don't want to encourage people during the disassembly to put the tape on, grip it really tight, use a spanner wrench, and then, break these pins off, because these are really expensive too, if you've priced these. Yep. Yeah, and if you make one, let's say if you make your own, like we showed, it's not easy to make them either,
Yeah, they don't just, they're just not,
right.
not falling off the trees.
Exactly. So that's why we don't recommend it. If you can't get the nut off using your pliers without the tape, that's why we recommend using the punch and the hammer method.
Oh, the shock treatment.
The shock treatment. Yeah, do it that way. But see, since we're doing the installation, here we want a really nice grip, because here we can control the torque of the nut. And I just want, and plus, it's really hard when you're installing the nut, it's really hard to gauge if the spindle's turning or not. you know, because it's really hard to gauge that if it's rotating.
Oh, because it's smooth and it's shiny.
Yeah, so smooth, right, and shiny.
You're not going to feel it.
Exactly, you aren't going to feel it, so that's the other reason. So you want it really secure so you can really monitor that torque. Because remember, we only want it snug, not loose, not overly tight, just snug. Okay, so okay, so first of all, what I do is, okay, so remember I put oil on the threads.
Your little screw's been removed.
Oh, see, I almost forgot. I need to oil the spindle nut. See, we don't want this to rust or corrode over time. Okay, but here we don't have to oil the threads because the oil from the spindle will, go there. Okay, just wipe off the excess.
And our little fastener's still removed from it, so it's all safe.
Yeah, fastener still removed. Okay, so then what I do is I install this as far as I can with my fingers. Okay, there. Okay, this is where I like to stand up. Okay, there we go. That feels really good. Okay, nice. Oh yeah, I was really close.
You were, and the spindle has not spun.
Oh yeah, perfect. See, what I did is I felt where it got really tight, and then I just moved it just slightly, and that's all it needs. Don't go too tight, and it still feels beautiful. Okay, and then now we can put our fastener on. And don't forget to put your fastener on. Okay, then as always, we just want to put a little drop of oil. Just like that. Come on. Okay, again, we don't want it too tight, just snug. Because remember, Levin, you know, they made that little slot in the nut.
Sure did.
So that way, when you tighten the fastener, it's going to move those two pieces together, and that's what secures it.
Applies pressure to those threads.
Yeah.
Just some.
Just snug, because if you go too tight, it will damage the threads. Okay, so now, so we're done there. So now we can remove this tape. Okay, and again, with isopropyl alcohol, we just want to make sure it's clean without...
No tape residues.
Yeah, we don't want that tape residue on it.
How's it feeling?
Oh, it feels beautiful.
Yeah, nice.
Silky, smooth, tight. Yeah, just so you know, people that aren't familiar with working with angular contact bearings, you're going to have to get used to the feel. You know, there is a resistive... Okay, it's silky smooth. I mean, it's so silky smooth, you can't feel any obstructions whatsoever. Okay, but there is resistance, and you're supposed to feel resistance because that's the preload on it. So, and it's going to get kind of hard to get used to at first because, you know, when you're rebuilding like motors with deep groove bearings and stuff like that, you know, you're going to be able to spin it.
You have no resistance.
Right. Yeah. But here, with angular contact bearings, you can't spin it.
So at this point, you haven't done anything wrong. That's just the feel you're looking for, actually.
That's right. Very important. Good. This is the feel. So you aren't going to spin it, and it's going to start turning. So just be aware of that. No, it feels great, though. You're gonna know, believe me, you're going to know that it's a successful installation because this is going to feel so smooth. Okay, we're done at this stage. The next stage is we need to finish it off by installing the bearing caps. But for this particular spindle, remember we've got the felt rings we need to install back into the bearing caps because you cleaned them.
Yes.
So next section we're gonna install the felts back into the bearing cap. So we'll be back.
Part 3A, Section 4, Installing the Felt Rings. Holy Horotech! Look at that! Even I don't see that kind of treatment around here.
We really got the fancy tools out this time. Now, kidding aside, this is actually a watchmaking tool. And if you happen to be a watchmaker doing this spindle rebuild job,
which a lot of Levin owners are.
Yeah, there are a lot of watchmakers that are Levin owners, you're right. So if you're a watchmaker, you very likely have a tool like this, which is the perfect application for what we're going to share with you. And the only thing is there are some dies that we're going to share with you, and you do need some specific dies. One in particular is very important.
Yeah, because it's got an OD issue.
Yeah.
Outer diameter problem there.
So I think we're ready to share, right? Or start this process.
Do you want to share the option they have to do this now or after you do it?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You know, obviously if you're doing this job and you're in a watchmaker,
you don't want to go buy this just to go buy this.
Exactly.
That's kind of out there.
So what we would recommend is to make something out of Delrin like this, and really easy. Just get a piece of Delrin rod, and you're just going to make it the same diameter that you need. And we're going to show you the we won't share it now, but there is a critical diameter for one of the ends.
They'll see that when we do the demonstration.
That's right.
But they can do this with Delrin, and they can do it in the press. Just be careful and light.
That's right. Or probably even with a hammer, really light hammer.
Thanks. Yeah, you're right. They don't need. There's no force required here. It's just going to snap. That little ring just snaps in that. I don't even know how it keeps doing it, but it snaps in that little. Yeah. That soft aluminum, and it just works.
Yeah, it just works.
Perfect. Okay, wow, let's try it.
Yeah, let's get started. So here's our crystal press, and I've actually selected 3 dies. I have a platform die that I've selected, and that's going to accommodate both bearing caps for us. Okay, but then we have the 2 bearing caps for our accessory spindle, and the one for the rear is a smaller diameter, and the one for the front's the larger diameter. And we actually need 2 different die sizes, and I'll show you why. Okay, for this one takes that little felt washer. I guess I can put it in now.
Yeah, see, but there's the key right there. You have to put it down in. That's see it?
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
See, and then this is going to go on top right there. So we drop that on top, and then we're going to press it in. But see, this is where the die going to have to be the right diameter to fit inside, go internally.
So that's what they turn their Delrin down to if
that's right. Exactly. So it just has to be, you know, small enough to fit in this cavity, but large enough to where it covers the entire, you know, because you want to cover basically the entire width of the washer or the retainer clip, and a little further out, you know, probably 1 millimeter or 2 out. So you don't have to be critical. You know, just make it just slightly smaller and you'll be good. And just make sure you cover the entire area of the retaining clip. And then this one's actually easier because, see, we insert our felt ring right there. Okay, and this actually just goes right on top. So the diameter of the die is not critical at all. So I just selected one that just covers the entire part like that.
That's good and safe.
Yeah, so that's good and safe. And again, you know, make sure you don't have a big hole right here. See, my internal hole is small enough where it still adequately covers, you know, this whole surface area.
Anywhere that ring's going to go, yeah.
Exactly. So I guess let's get started with the small one. So let me install a little die. Okay, good. Just make sure the washer's in there. The felt ring's in there really good. Okay, put this like that. Okay, what I'm gonna do is make sure. Okay, perfect. Okay, make sure your ring, and we make sure again, gotta make sure your ring's perfectly centered. Okay, I think that's good. So just very carefully put it on the platform. Okay.
No great effort here. Just let it slide right into that tight little hole there. Just make sure it's in there. Good, goes in. See it?
Yeah, just take your
There
time.
it goes. Watch your...
There, you can feel it when it snaps in.
That was it.
See? And there you go.
Let's take a really good look there.
See, it's perfect.
Oh, looks really nice.
Yeah, sometimes you can tell that people do this incorrectly, because what you'll have is you'll have one side that's flush like that, and this other side will be indented in. So I could just imagine how they tried inserting this ring, and that's not a good thing, because what you're doing is you're putting a lot of pressure on one side of the felt, and you don't want that. You know, you want equal pressure around the entire felt ring.
Yep, and how we maintain and manage those rings is I shared that in the felt cleaning shot coming up.
That's right.
Right, I share some of that. I shared that in the felt cleaning actually.
Oh, actually, you did that in part 3.
Part 3 did that, yeah.
That's right.
Well, I did that, I know. So anyway, that's why they're flat, and that helps him when he presses them in to keep that perfect flat circle in there.
Yes.
Just so you know, there was a little lead into that.
Okay, so we got that die installed. Okay, same thing. Let's just make sure we've got our felt ring in there nice. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I just want to make sure. Got my felt, my retaining clip. Good.
Now remember, we're not having to put oil on these for a couple of reasons. It's aluminum.
Oh, good point. Yeah, this is aluminum, so no oil.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't want any oil around the felt.
That's right.
I just got done cleaning. We don't need to. We don't need to.
And there's a good reason for that. If you're wondering, you don't want any oil or grease on these felts, because what's going to happen is, over time, you're going to get grit. You know, could even if you're doing like if you're using this grinding attachment, you're using a grinding wheel, that fine grit's going to get in here, and if this is oiled or grease, it's going to hold on to that, and then what's going to happen is it's going to be like a little sanding disc on your spindle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's not a good thing. So you want to keep these very dry so it doesn't act like a magnet. Yeah, it's perfect. Really careful. There.
That sounded nice.
Yeah, didn't it? Oh, perfect. See? That's what you want. You want it flush around the whole circumference. Just like that. Perfect.
Really nice.
Great. Yeah, so that's all it takes. And, you know, again, we keep saying, you know, just using the right tools, it's easy and it does the job correctly. Okay, great. So that's done. So we're ready to install these on the spindle. So we'll be right back.
Part 3A, Section 5, Installing Bearing Caps. Well, it looks like our vise is, I thought it was taking a nap. It used to be upright.
That's what I love about this option or this attachment, because it gives you so many different abilities for setting the different angles. And I did drop it, because what it's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to focus on each end.
Yeah, it's like you get to work right into it instead of having to work right over it, you know.
That's right. You know,
and much more comfortable and take your time kind of work. Yeah.
Absolutely, because in a typical vise, it would be like this. And see, we're going to be focusing on installing the bearing caps. So see, we'd have to work, you know, on each side of it. But see, now we'll be able to work directly on top. on each side. So much better. We can definitely focus a lot better. So let's get started. We're gonna actually start with the rear cap, which is a smaller diameter. So let's go ahead and put it in the vise. So I think about there's good.
Nice firm grip.
Okay, good. Spindle still feels silky smooth.
You notice we're constantly checking that.
Oh, we just out of habit. Yeah, just making sure. Okay, so we've got our rear bearing cap with a little diameter hole. Okay, what I do first is I just set it on top because you don't want to force it down.
Oh, can I butt in here then?
Oh yeah, please do.
It's that time. If anybody knows the little character for dressing correctly as a child called Damper Dan.
All right.
Remember Damper Dan?
Dapper Dan.
Dapper Dan. Well, he's wearing his wool shirt here, and he's got to tuck it in to go on correctly. Right?
That's a good analogy. Yeah. No, because Lance is correct. What I usually do is I use the tool that we use to pop out the retainer ring that holds in the felt ring.
Sure.
And what I like to do, because I don't like to force anything, so I just start one side in an angle, and then actually let me start my side first, and then using this tool, I just work around this while I'm applying a little pressure downwards, and just making sure the felt is pressed in. See, just like that.
Oh, so it's a nice steady flow on there.
That's right. I'm not forcing it. Okay. So then the next thing I do is I push it all the way down. And another note, you'll notice these caps have very fine threads.
Really fine threads.
Yeah, it's very fine and very easy to cross. I guess you can cross damage them.
Cross thread.
Cross thread. Yeah. Thank you. So what I do is I make sure it's all the way down. And then I turn, like I'm loosening it. And what I'm doing is I'm putting a little pressure down and waiting for it to drop. Okay, right there. See it drop? And then
a little noise.
Yeah, then that makes makes a little drop in noise. That tells me that the two threads are aligned. See, and now it'll easily go on.
Nice flow, just no force.
Yeah, see, really easily. Okay, that's good. Okay, for this one, I used a little spanner wrench. And this is the same spanner wrench we use for tightening the spindle nut.
Oh,
with the little tiny pins.
The little 16th inch pins?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
1/16 inch pins. And of course, I want to show them that our homemade tool.
Oh yeah.
Of course, we could use that tool. This works great too.
There's the little 16th inch pin, just like the spanner wrench.
Yeah, there you go, right there. And see, this side's for the other bearing cap on the other side. So, but we're going to use a spanner wrench because this is what most people will be using for this job. Okay, you don't have to go tight. So what I do is I just go really just snug. That's it. That's all that's needed. Okay, and that's done. Okay, and again, anytime you do anything to the spindle, rotate the spindle. Make sure you didn't cause any issues. Make sure it's free. Because, if you do too many things, like install too many parts,
yeah, you're not gonna.
And then later on you turn and you go, wow, it's binding. Now you're gonna wonder, what did I do to cause that bind, for example?
That's right.
So very important to always test throughout the installation. Test the spindle. So that side's done. So we're gonna turn it around. Okay, let's get this cap. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just drop it on top. Oh, okay, this one.
That one just went on.
Okay.
So that happens.
That happens. But you just want to be sure, never force. You never want to force anything.
Oh, and this one has a secondary step, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's why it slides down a little easier.
Thank you. Let me mention that.
It's got one more wall to get over.
Actually, this is very important.
Oh, that's good.
Enough, yeah. Okay, if you notice, make sure I get in the camera. Okay, you'll notice there's a step right there.
I see that.
So see, so the felt rings, as you screw down the bearing cap, the felt ring's gonna move its way down, and it has to go over that step.
And not bind.
And not bind. And why we mention that is because, you know, sometimes, especially when you clean these felt rings, you know, they can get really fluffy because they're all clean now.
They're real dry. No slickness left. So.
Yeah. And
so they'll get a little caught up going over that second. If they're too big going on the first step, then the second one tends to bind it a little bit. It makes it a little bit harder to get it on there.
That's right.
Some rework may be required.
That's right. And what I usually do when I start getting to the end, I turn the spindle, you know, from the bottom while I'm tightening it, just to make sure, because if the felt ring binds on that step, you're going to feel it.
It'll stop spinning.
Yeah, it's very obvious.
That's nice. Okay? Nice trick.
Yeah. Okay, there, it's all the way down, so we didn't...
Oh, wow.
We didn't bind.
We'll just have to get that a little tightened there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you're using your big one there.
Oh, yeah. This is our big spanner wrench we like. I think, yeah, this was the same one we used for the disassembly.
Yeah.
Okay, remember, be very careful. Make sure you apply a lot of pressure.
These aren't holes.
Yeah, they're half holes, and this will easily slip out, and it'll damage these really badly. So.
Again, we're not going crazy with the tightening anyway. Just getting it.
No, just snug.
That's it. They're just.
Let's see. That's it.
That's why they're bearing cap / kind of dust covers. That's where you hear us reference that. Is because that's kind of what they just did right there.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if you noticed me, but I did test the spindle again. And again, it still feels perfect. Okay.
Nice. Looking nice.
Yeah, looking nice. Okay, we're done with the vise for now. So let's move that out of the way. Okay, the last step, if you remember, when we disassembled this, we have this other cap. And this is actually a press fit over the spindle head.
Yeah.
See? And what that does, that just seals it a little bit more. And so it goes like this.
And it's going to need a little help.
Oh, actually, let's apply a light coat of oil.
Good catch.
Just a tiny drop.
He wasn't going to let me catch him here.
No! I'm always thinking about oil now. Okay, good, because that'll help with this. Anything that's press fit or bearings, definitely lubrication will help with the process, okay? So that's good. Okay, and I'm actually going to use Lance for this. He's going to provide a third hand. Okay, so let me bring my hockey puck. Oh, before I do this, should I explain what we're going to use to do this?
Oh, yeah, let's go over our tools. I'm going to give you an SKF installation.
Yeah, this is our SKF bearing installation tool. And what we've done is we've selected a die. We selected a die where the internal diameter of this hole.
Let me go ahead and take that off there and show you here.
Yeah, here, let me
get in.
Yeah, see, just fits just like that.
Yeah, you got it over that spindle there. So.
Yeah, see, so we're actually treating this like it's a bearing. Like
yeah, I guess we are.
Yeah, like we're installing a bearing. And again, you know, if you don't have this tool from SKF, you can make one with Delrin.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just like, let me grab this. You know, see, you make something like this.
Oh, he's just really proud of those tools he makes. Okay.
Okay, so let me set this. Okay, you can hold it however you want, whatever's comfortable.
It's flush on the puck. That's what I want. See there?
Okay, perfect. And just try and center it. Again, just go really light and easy.
I saw a problem. So. I tried it.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Oh no, I can see it a little bit more. See, just take your time. Perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Check the bearing. I've just been dying to do it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
always gobbling up all the... See, and that spins with the spindle there, see?
Perfect. Yeah, let's see if they can see it. So see how it's a press fit, so it's riding on the head of the spindle right here. And see? Let's see if I can get really close. Yeah, there we go. See, just like that. And again, feels perfect. No binding. Okay, we're almost done. We just have one last part. So here, let me give you these tools back. Okay, we're ready to install the belt pulley. Okay, the first thing we want to do is apply a little coat of oil right here. Oh,
you remembered. I was just like the highway patrol hiding behind the sign waiting to pull out and get him.
You know, like it's constantly on my mind now.
Hey, this next little tip coming up is going to be neat, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Okay, before I start that, I just want to show you. You'll notice on the belt pulley, there's a knurled side and a smooth side. Okay, it's really important. You want the knurled side outward. And what that's for is, that's so that you can easily grip it and turn the spindle when you're working with it. Okay, but here's the difficult part. Okay, as you know, we always like to replace our fasteners. And so we have our new fastener right here. Which, before I forget, let me oil that real quick. Okay, just make sure. Okay, that's my tip right there. Okay, I just want a quick little just drop of oil. Perfect. Okay, but here's the tricky part. Okay, we need to focus on installing that into the spindle. And the problem is if you cannot insert it this way from the top, because
this is your tip of the day.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. I'll tell you, because this V, okay, you'll see threads, but you'll never get the set screw through that way.
No.
And we've run this actually with other V groove spindles, or belt pulleys. I mean. Yeah, so it is a common problem. You'll need some tweezers. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to hold it. Here's what I do. Okay, I hold it about the middle like that. Okay, then I have my little Allen wrench. Okay, you want the tip on this side and the socket like this. See? So I can insert it like that. Okay, let's see if I can do this. So what you're going to have to do is, the object is, we want to insert this fastener, but we're doing it from the inside out. So I started by placing it in the hole with the tweezers, and then the other side.
It takes a little bit of talent to get it, but you'll get it. Basically unscrewing it in a funny way.
Yeah, and that's important. Remember, we're going opposite here. Let me do this. This will be easier. Okay, so yeah, you're acting like you're removing the screw, so lefty-loosey.
It's going to take a few shots, and you can see we've done this.
And it's hard to do in front of the camera too. Okay, so it's in there. Okay, I think I got it.
Get it?
I did, see?
Hey. See, now he's going to unscrew it.
Okay.
He wants to get it all the way backed away, huh?
That's right, back all the way.
You don't want to see anything in that hole.
So get my loop. Yeah, make sure there's no obstructions.
This has got to slide on the spindle, see?
Yeah, okay, looks good. It's ready to be installed. Okay, so remember, the knurled side out. Okay, and it should go in pretty easy. Here we go. Perfect. There we go. Okay, and what we want to do is, I want the pulley flush with the end of the spindle right here. So just like that, just how you see it. And then we're just going to tighten it.
Then it's just eyeball. You just eyeball that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect.
No end of the planet here.
But by feel, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
And then again, our last test. Feels great to me. Want to give it your approval?
Let's see here.
It's not done until Lance approves it too.
Ooh, I can't wait to break you in.
Yeah, it feels nice, huh?
Yeah, it's nice, and boy, nice that you get that right amount of resistance in there on those contact bearings, right? See, feel it?
Yeah,
just feel it.
It's
beautiful.
Just perfect, smooth, silky smooth. You know, has just a slight resistance from the preload. It's a perfect installation. So, but we aren't done yet.
Nope.
The next part is the braking procedure.
It is.
And Lance is going to be performing that job. So,
I am.
Yeah. So, we'll see you back.
As watchmakers and micro machinists, Patrick and I thank you for following along with us while we take this journey. We look forward to bringing you another exciting show shortly.